Welcome to The Art Box, your podcast dedicated to exploring the vibrant art scene in Nevada and beyond. Join us as we embark on a journey through galleries, theaters, studios, public lands, and streetscapes, meeting the artists, curators, archaeologists, nature lovers, and cultural influencers who shape our creative community and our world. Whether you're looking for your next cultural adventure, seeking inspiration for your own artistic pursuits, or simply curious about the world of art, tune into The Art Box. Together, let's open up a world of creativity and imagination. Let's dive in.
Dreams, what if the night is about you and me? So lift your head up to the sky.
Teresa, I think we met West Sahara Library Art Gallery, and that was the Women in Focus exhibition, was it?
It was the black and white show, yes.
And I loved it, and it was just that space is so lovely. So at Sahara Library. And that there's really 3 galleries there even makes it even better.
Yeah, I think the same night they had another opening happening, or maybe 2. It might have been 3 separate openings.
Yeah, I know the one in the middle was an opening for sure. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure about the other one, but it was it was just great. I could have hung out there all night. Well, I think I probably did. So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, okay.
Because you're more than a photographer. You're a mom.
I am. I have a 12-year-old son. He's amazing. He occupies a lot of my time. So I am also a wife, of course. And, my husband, he also requires a lot of time as well.
Us men tend to do that,
Yeah, well, I have 2 of them living in the house. Thank goodness the dog is a girl, and so is the cat. So there's a balance in there somewhere. So, yeah, I guess, I was a stay-at-home mom for probably longer than most folks are, and loved it. And, did some work here and there on the side while my son was younger. And then as he started, getting into, I guess, elementary school, I thought, okay, I need to be more than Javier's wife and Parker's mom. And I decided to pursue photography. As a birthday gift one year, my husband, he gave me a gift certificate at B&C Camera over here in town. I went in there without knowing a thing and happily took their advice and bought myself my first mirrorless camera.
Oh, so you started right off with the mirrorless, huh?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Addie here, calling in with a little pocket of camera magic. Today I want to talk about something that quietly changed photography over the last decade: mirrorless cameras. For most of photographic history, cameras were built around a mirror. Light came through the lens, bounced off that mirror, and up into an optical viewfinder so you could see your shot. When you pressed the shutter, the mirror flipped up, the light hit the sensor or film, and the image was captured. It was a brilliant system, but also a mechanical one, full of moving parts. Mirrorless cameras remove that mirror entirely. Instead of reflecting light into a viewfinder, the light goes straight to the digital sensor all the time. What you see in the viewfinder, or on the screen, is a live digital preview of the actual exposure. That means what you see really is what you get. If it's too dark, too bright, or too warm in color, you know before you take the photo. This shift did a few beautiful things. Cameras became lighter and quieter. Wildlife photographers suddenly had near-silent shutters. Street photographers could work without drawing attention. And artists gained a kind of immediate feedback that feels almost like painting: adjust, observe, refine, capture. There's also something poetic about it. The mirror once stood between the photographer and the world, translating light mechanically. Now the sensor sees directly, continuously, without interruption. It feels like a more intimate relationship with light itself. Mirrorless cameras also opened the door to astonishing low light performance, faster autofocus, and video capabilities that blurred the line between photography and cinema. They didn't replace creativity, but they removed friction. They made it easier for instinct and intuition to lead. So when people talk about mirrorless as a technical upgrade, they are right, but it's also an emotional one. It changed how photographers feel in the moment of creation. More fluid. More present. More connected. Okay, Addie stepping back out of the lens now. Let's return you to the conversation.
I still am learning the difference. I guess it was the whole idea of just having something lighter. And in hindsight, that was smart, simply because I don't always get a lot of opportunities to practice my photography. So we road trip quite a bit. We spend a couple of weeks on the road during the summer, and it's occasional that I get some time to myself to just kind of wander and explore things at a leisurely pace. Otherwise, when, it's family driven, we're either on, we're rock climbing or mountain biking, or, if we are hiking, we got to get going. So having a lighter camera in those situations have been, now I understand why that was the recommendation to me, and it does make things a lot easier.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I have a friend here who told me she had a bad back, and she told me that the mirrorless camera was a big difference for her.
Yeah, I haven't held a DSLR yet to know the difference. The gal that I work with, she shoots on a DSLR, and yeah, her bag is heavy with all the lenses and everything else in tow, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, shucks, those lenses. You said you don't necessarily consider yourself an artist. So when did you first realize that photography had quietly become part of who you are?
I always knew that photography was considered as an art. I guess I have a hard time just calling myself a photographer, because I feel like it's such the beginning part of it that I haven't really touched on. I don't even know the right answer of when do I officially become a photographer. So to consider myself an artist, I think it's a challenge. I guess I am. And maybe that's just part of the perfectionism, my brain, that you're not there yet because you still have this to learn. Or, the peers that you surround yourself with have been doing this a lot longer than you. And maybe you're not there yet because of that. I think I'm not the only one, right?
Oh, no, you're not at all. I mean, I never considered photography an art. And until I had friends here at the art gallery who said it is. And you think, because I'm like, you just spent 3 weeks painting that picture. Okay,
right.
I'm hanging a picture in this same exhibit that I just snapped a picture of.
I guess I've never considered it that way. I mean, it's a different interpretation.
What she said to me was that you have to decide where you're going to go. You have to get there. You have to plan your shot. You may have to hike there. So, yeah, you probably have put as much effort in to your piece of art as I've put into mine.
I guess there's different arguments to it. You could also interpret it as different talents, right, and abilities. But at the end of the day, it's something that you're still learning, right? It's not like you just immediately start painting and poof, you're really good at it, right? Same with photography. It's a skill that you might start with a certain baseline that other people may not have. For instance, like a good eye in photography versus somebody who can pick up a paintbrush and, whether it's skilled or not, might have a talent just from the first get-go. So I guess we all have a little separate artist gene in us to some degree.
Well, I've gotten over that, so I'm an artist now.
Okay, I'm an artist too. Nice to meet you, Mr. Artist.
Yes, nice to meet you. It's the whole, I've heard somebody say not too long ago about the imposter syndrome, that, I'm an imposter. I shouldn't be here with all these other people, but I am. Do you want to tell us about young Teresa when you were 5 or 6 years old?
When I was 5 or 6 years old, let's see, I grew up in New Jersey. Yeah, I had a great childhood, living that typical East Coast lifestyle, winter. Yay, summer's here. Let's go swim all the swimming we can do. We can fast forward to, I guess, in my adult life, I went to college. I studied a lot of business. I became a professional pretty quickly after college. And, I think it's a common perseverance, at least in my age group, there weren't a lot of arts pushed. When I graduated college, it was 1991. It was a really business mentality, at least from my perspective. So, yeah, I just worked a whole bunch. And when I was 29, I moved to Los Angeles by myself. that was a big change. I don't know. I think things started slowing down for me, even though I was a worker bee and, thriving or striving to make it, so to speak, meaning paying my rent every month. I started seeing like so much more around me rather than the day-to-day minutia of things. I started practicing yoga, hiking, and just getting outdoors more. And I think that kind of tapped into a whole new side of myself. Eventually, I started rock climbing, and I started living a very different lifestyle. Like, I think back of how I grew up and, in my 30s and 40s and how I persevered and lived my life. I kind of lived as a professional during the week. And then on the weekends, I was a climbing dirtbag. I just camped and climbed and went to some amazing, cool, beautiful places. Joshua Tree, one of my favorites. That was easy to get to from Los Angeles. Yosemite, particularly Tuolumne Meadows. There was amazing climbing up in Idyllwild, which is around San Jacinto area. Yeah, like life changed a lot at that part of my life. And I am so thrilled about that.
And I was born and grew up out back east as well. I'd like to say, I was doing things. I was exploring the natural areas, but it seemed until we moved out west that I don't know that there's more out here. Well, maybe there is more out here, but it just exploded when we moved out west.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because there's more out here or it's just a different mentality. It could also just be maturity on my part and just learning to appreciate more rather than, push and, follow what's in front of you. And instead of following what's in front of you, taking a moment and looking around and being like, well, what about where I am right now? This is pretty cool right here, right now.
How did climbing change the way you see landscapes and details?
Oh, my goodness. Well, in so many ways, just climbing is a mental sport, but it's such a social sport, too, at least from my perspective, my experience. Just sitting at a campfire, right, and having victory from your climbing day and, with your people and new people. And, like sitting at a campfire, imagine sitting at a campfire in Joshua Tree. Have you ever been to Joshua Tree?
Yes.
It's just magical. I think it's one of the more magical places I've ever been to. But imagine sitting campfire side. Perhaps you've done this as well. And the light bouncing off of all of the rock formations. And like, how do you not fall in love with the part of art, the nature and the aspect of it being in art? I don't know how that's even possible because it's magical. It's just, especially Joshua Tree, and then being in your forest landscape at night is not just at night, but all day. Like every movement and change of light gives you a whole different view. Yeah, I'm very passionate about my outside lifestyle.
Yeah, and there's something to be said because you're tired, you're beat, and you can sit back in your chair and relax and then look around and take it all in and talk.
Oh, yeah. And just, we don't normally climb like around where we camp. So it's not like you can kind of look at a peak and be like, oh, yeah, that was a great day today on that blah, blah, blah formation. But, sometimes there was a lot of mischief that would happen, especially at night. Checking out, there was this place called the Chasm of Doom that sometimes we would just, put out the campfire or leave somebody behind and we would go explore in there. And that's always something different and fun to do. There are some hidden mines out there. There are some hidden, I don't even know how to explain this one area. It was like a jail. It felt like there are a lot of claustrophobic areas that you can find out there. But yeah, it's adventurous, and that's part of the appeal of, I guess, the landscape. I don't know, just offers so much, at least to me. And I know a lot of the people that I surrounded myself with at that time, especially appreciated just, what it offers.
Yeah, I don't, for me, I'm not sure that there's anything better. Well, there probably is, but there's something special about when you have a good-sized moon, not necessarily a full moon, but the shadow of a Joshua tree. I'm enamored by the shadow of a Joshua tree.
Yeah, I guess I am too, as I'm explaining it. I remember as a kid, I was in the Girl Scouts, and I remember going camping. The shadows used to scare me. I remember camping and being campfire side, and I was so afraid to look away from the campfire. I remembered, back east, everything is dense. There's trees, and then in the middle of nowhere, there's a wall of rocks, or there isn't a wall of rocks. And, at night, it looks like a wall of rocks because of the shadows.
Yes.
And just, you hear the noises, and it's intimidating. Maybe that's why I fell in love with Joshua Tree so much, because it's so open. It doesn't feel as scary. Yeah, there's no monsters in Joshua Tree, right?
Are you sure?
No, I'm not actually. Oh yeah, I had plenty of nights hearing the coyotes just, doing their thing, and there's some cool, scary sounds out there in the middle of the night.
To be surrounded by coyotes.
Yeah. Oh, I've woken up in the middle of the night plenty of times, rolled out of my tent, going to the take care of, midnight business. You're just, crouching down, and all of a sudden you got a coyote staring at you. There's one dude that would be found, he's limper. I forgot what they named him, but he would hang around Hidden Valley Campground all the time, and he was notorious. But it's scary the first time you see them. You're just like, oh my God, what's going to happen?
Yes, their eyes.
Yes. Well, you got your headlamp on too, and you're shining it at them.
Yeah, they're great. I can remember where my wife and I, we were in Death Valley doing meteor shower one time, and we were asleep, and this little fox came over and nudged her in her cot, in her sleeping bag. So,
foxes aren't dangerous, are they?
No, not at all. But obviously, people were feeding it, so because he hung around all night.
I've done some backcountry camping and heard some pretty scary sounds outside of my tent before. I don't know. I consider myself lucky.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess that's the one thing. You think about east-west and everything. A lot of people, besides maybe never seeing the Milky Way, people back east don't get the camping experiences like we get, where you can just camp anywhere.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of folks, on this side of the world also that they camp in a very different manner, car camping or whatever. But to each their own. You're getting outside still. You're away from home. You don't have your electronics in front of you. It's all good.
Oh, how do they manage without their electronics in front of them?
I don't know. We've taken my son on our road trips, of course, where there was no Wi-Fi available, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
The 365 project, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Actually, Sue was the one who inspired me. She had done it, and this was, I think, right after I had taken a couple of classes at UNLV. So I bought this beautiful camera, and, I would take it out with me, and I would take some really cool pictures, and everything was on automatic, of course. And I started learning that there's a whole other life besides automatic. And I thought, okay, well, how am I going to learn this? And somehow, I don't remember how I came across the UNLV catalog, or maybe it was Marcy that told me. I'm having a hard time remembering my timeline here. I might have already been in Women in Focus, and then I learned about UNLV. So I took her digital photography 1, 2, and 3, and learned how to do. The first one was primarily shooting in manual. The second one was portraiture, learning a lot of portraiture. And the third class, oh my goodness, I don't remember what it was. But I felt qualified after that. And so I thought the best way to practice learning all this really cool stuff was to implement it. So I did. The majority of my pictures, are at home in my backyard.
Okay, and maybe we should explain to the audience what a 365 project is.
Okay. The 365 challenge is you take a picture every day. And I don't know if the requirement is to post it. Do you know if that's the case, or is that just kind of where it's transitioned to these days?
I don't know. When our son did it, he posted every day.
Oh, he did? Okay. So, yeah, every day you take a photo and you post it. For me, I posted it on Facebook. Yeah, it was interesting. I have a lot of photographer friends that I didn't even know about who would, give advice along the way, or perspective or opinions or kudos or what have you. And that was kind of interesting also, because it's a different eye, you get different perspective of things. And it took me longer than a year to do it. Most days I would be able to take a picture. So it took me about a year and 4 months, I want to say. I think I had dropped it for a little bit in between and then picked it up pretty voraciously and even did like multiple posts per day. I feel that there was definitely a big change from the first day to the last day. That was a fun experiment.
So were there some days that you were just dragging and it was a chore to go out and get it, or were you always excited to go get your shot?
Oh, for sure there were. There were days where I didn't know what to shoot, or, just being caught up in the everyday life of things, feeling the need to stage something. I did play with some food photography in that time frame. So I was having a lot of fun on some days, just specifically staging some food. There's definitely little blocks that would come in of, okay, well, what am I going to shoot today that was different than every other day? Fortunately, I have a really pretty backyard with a lot of good greenery, and I have a lot of hummingbirds. So that was kind of one of my favorite obsessions, you could say, was to try to capture these little babies in my yard.
Hummingbirds are just incredible, aren't they? They offer so many great opportunities.
It's so fun to just watch them. And that was something else I learned about in the process of the 365 was, learning patience. Obviously, if you're trying to capture a bird or any kind of wildlife, you're not just going to pull your camera out and get a picture. There's a lot of trial and error. There is, for me, for the hummingbirds, it was learning their patterns. And I've always loved hummingbirds anyway. We had a couple of nests through the years in my yard. It did teach me a lot about being patient and, learning they have patterns. They're so freaking cute, these little critters. I don't know. I feel like they're more comfortable with me. I planted a plant last year that is still blooming for me. It bloomed through Christmas. It's blooming today. It's called, oh my gosh, I'm totally drawing a blank. But I've been seeing the hummingbirds still in the winter too. I haven't gotten my camera out to try to capture them, which is kind of disappointing. But I feel like our climate is pretty ideal for them. I don't think they have to migrate. I'm not so sure of that, but I feel like I see the same bird in my yard. Okay, so here's an example. I live near Lone Mountain, and I hike around Lone Mountain. Well, hike, it's more like a walk, pretty regularly. And there's this one yucca tree. I actually photographed him a couple of years ago. I call him Lone Mountain Larry, and he's still there. That was 2 years ago. Same dude. I'm assuming it's the same dude because it's same spot on this yucca tree every single time that I go by, almost every single time. I didn't see him the other day.
When we lived in Summerlin, we had one, and we called him Otto. I don't know how we came with the name Otto. He owned the feeders, and he would chase. I don't know how they ever have babies, because the males just seem so mean to the females all the time.
When I was pregnant with my son, we had a nest in my yard. We had a nest, and it had this one only had one baby, and it was high up in a wind chime. It made a nest in our wind chime right outside our kitchen window, so I could watch that every single day. And one day I came home from work, and the mama bird was flying around another window facing the same part of the yard, and she looked like she was in distress. And so I went outside, and the bird just kept coming near me, like she was telling me something. And behind that window is a little storage area we had for swimming rafts, and we had a raft kind of slid in behind it. And I saw the baby bird. So I picked this raft up gently with the bird, the baby, and lifted it up because it looked like maybe it was stuck or something. I hadn't learned how to fly yet. And so I picked it up, and the bird took off opposite direction of the nest. And I was like, oh no, what did I do? And so I went to go towards it, and it flew again, and it landed in the pool. And I panicked. So I got it out of the pool, and I put it at the base of where the wind chime was, and I put it on this table, okay? So Mama Bird, she just kept flying around it. Like, she didn't know what to do with it. And so I went back outside again, and being pregnant, I was afraid to touch it. I didn't know if there were any diseases or anything I'm supposed to, whatever. This bird flew on me and landed on my chest and just kind of burrowed in there. And just for, I don't know, 10, 30 seconds. And so I got on a chair and I put the baby back in the nest, and Mama immediately came back and started grooming it and taking off all the human germs probably. But it was kind of bizarre. I feel like I bonded with this little critter and her mom.
Yeah, you did. It sounds like the mom was trying to get you to help.
Yeah, like she seemed like she was in distress. I don't know how to explain it. And as I was almost ready to have my son, I was just like, I'm so ready to be a mom. Felt meaningful.
Yeah, there you go. It gave you inspiration.
Yeah, exactly.
You say Ansel Adams is a major influence, and I just love black and white photography. What do you think that monochrome allows you to say that color sometimes doesn't?
I think it's a mood. It kind of gives an ethereal feel about specific places, especially Yosemite. Of course, any of the areas that he's photographed in color would be spectacular. But just that added element of depth and mystery, maybe a little intimidation for the area. Maybe that's just my point of view. I don't know. There's just something about black and white, and specifically the granite and nature, and just, I don't know. I don't know how to articulate it well enough. What's your thoughts on that? If you're a fan of Ansel, what draws you to the black and white more than the color?
Well, I think you just nailed it. You said depth and mystery. Mm-hmm. I think that's it, because I think you get better depth with black and white. And then there's just the mystery.
I don't know what years he captured a lot of his famous photography, but, you know, it's just a different time also. He did do a lot of glaciers that don't exist now. I think he did one for Lyle Glacier once, and I remember just studying it because I'd been back there, and I was just trying to imagine like how drastic it changed. And that's even just in the last, 15, 20 years that it's changed so much. So there's part of that as well. It's just another capture of time in history.
Yeah, the glaciers are really something, because we've done that, back, I think it was the early 90s when my youngest son and I went to Alaska. We got some pictures of glacier. And then going back, I made sure I went back to the same place. It's like, whoa, that's changed.
It can change season to season, but yeah, I think some things aren't changing season to season, of course. And it's just, life progressing and all the things, right?
Yeah, time marches on, right?
Sure does.
Now you balance work, because you say you work. You're parenting a 12-year-old and your husband, and along with your creativity. So how has motherhood reshaped your relationship with time and art?
I mean, now that my son is 12, I've always been into the nature photography. My son is in a band. He also performs with School of Rock.
Hi friends. Addie here, with a little spotlight on something that feels like pure creative electricity. I want to talk for a moment about the School of Rock in Las Vegas, where Teresa's son is honing his craft. The School of Rock isn't just music lessons. It's a philosophy. It's built on the idea that young musicians learn best by doing, by being in bands, performing on real stages, working through real songs, and discovering their voice inside a collaborative space. It's less about perfection and more about confidence, courage, and connection. Students don't just practice scales in isolation. They rehearse together, they listen to each other, they learn responsibility to a group. They learn how their sound fits into a bigger story. Guitar, bass, drums, vocals, keyboards, it all becomes a conversation. What I love most is how it mirrors what happens in art studios and creative communities. It's not about competition, it's about growth. It's about learning how to take up space, how to be heard, and how to support others while doing it. For Teresa's son, being part of the School of Rock means he's not just learning music, he's learning identity. He's learning discipline wrapped in joy. Structure wrapped in play. Technique wrapped in expression. There's something powerful about a place that tells young people, your creativity matters. Your sound matters. Your presence matters. So when we talk about schools like this, we are really talking about incubators for confidence and imagination. They don't just create musicians. They create storytellers, collaborators, and brave creative spirits. All right. Addie stepping back out of the rehearsal room now. Let's return you to the conversation.
That has changed a little bit, where I'm doing less landscape photography and I've been doing more of his band. Kind of an opened a door. Like, I used to joke around saying I don't photograph people, and now I am.
Of course, because that's your son.
I know it's totally different, right? But it did open my eyes a little bit to maybe I could try. I had a friend recently ask me after I did my son's band. They're called the Termites. After I photographed the termite, I did just some individual photos of each member. They work that camera too, by the way. They range from 12 to 15. And, my son at first was like, no, mommy, I don't want my picture taken. And then his friends, when they heard it, they were like, yeah. And they had to look down. Let me tell you, Steve, these kids, they knew the poses. I didn't have to tell them. It was super fun. And then they did a performance for Halloween at a friend's house. And, the lighting is never easy. So I've been kind of challenged, but also working through it a little bit. So that's been fun. So my friend, she saw that I did, the band, and every year they do a family photo. Typically it's outdoors, and she asked me to do their family photo this year for the holidays. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. She's like, oh no, it's going to be great. Don't worry about it. We did it. And wow, that was harder than I thought, lighting and shadows and getting everybody's eyes open. And the dog doesn't always cooperate.
Oh, sometimes. You had the dog in it too, huh?
They had the dog in it too. Back to your original question of, I guess, motherhood and time. I'm just trying to get in what I can, where I can. So, yeah, if it means learning a new skill, then there it is. So I did say in the literature you sent me that one of my goals this year was to get a flash, so I could probably use it in situations like this one that would help me. And I have checked that off of my box. Now I just have to learn how to use it, though.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my big questions here, was to talk about flash photography, because I would be afraid of it.
Do you not shoot with flash?
No.
What?
No, I don't even have a flash. Last time I used flash was with one of those 110 Instamatics that had the built-in flash, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember them.
Yeah, so no flash. But we're really interested, so with the flash. So, what are you planning to use it? Did you use it on the band?
Probably. I just realized my son has another show coming up on January 24th. In a perfect world, I will have at least gotten the minimal skills down so I can get that done. It's a really neat setup that School of Rock does. They do this performers group, and I think every session is about 16 weeks. And at the end of it, they do a performance, and they usually do it at the Hard Rock Cafe. I don't know if you've ever seen a concert there, but the kids get to perform on the stage, and they do all the lighting. It's like a big deal. It's amazing. So of course, I'm always out there with my camera. They do have a hired photographer, and she's amazing also. But of course, I want to focus in on my kid only and just.
Of course you do. Yes.
Yeah. Got to get those action shots. And he plays 2 instruments.
Oh, does he play 2? What else? What does he play?
He plays drums and he plays bass. He's actually down to 2 now. He was doing keyboards and piano for a while too.
Let me ask you what your favorite shot of him then is. Is it on drums or is it bass?
The drums are more action. Bass, he always looks so focused when he's playing on his bass. It almost looks like he's pissed off. But drums, although I think that's changing. I think he's getting more stage presence. And now that he, in his little garage band that he plays with, he started singing also. So I love getting him. And for those performances, I love getting him up front singing and playing his bass at the same time.
Oh, wow, that's great. Boy, what fun you're going to have with that. And that's just starting, huh?
I know. I can't wait to see I can wait to see what's ahead with him and what he does with all of his musical ambitions. But at the same time, I don't want this to go so fast.
I know what you mean. Yes, because it goes.
I know it does. How old are your kids?
The oldest one's going to turn 50 this year. I can still think back to all the things he did and everything and taking the pictures. Well, yeah, and now he's a really good photographer. So, but you know what? You're talking about his stage presence playing bass. My wife and I, for some reason, we flipped on, if you remember Rick Springfield. And
I remember.
Was that in the 90s or was that even in the 80s? And we were watching him, and I was like, he's not really playing that guitar because he seemed to be performing more than he was playing the guitar. He wasn't paying much attention to the guitar. Teresa, a.k.a. Mom here, when are you going to do a music video for the termites?
Oh, interesting. You know, it's funny. Normally when they perform, I do the pictures and my husband is out with his iPhone taking the video. But that is an interesting thing. I hadn't even thought about that because, yeah, of course, my camera does video too.
Yeah. You
could do some editing, maybe put some fun stuff in between.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can take them to someplace cool like Lone Mountain and I don't know. There's just a lot of opportunities. I'm jealous of you. You'll have a great time.
I am. They're all good kids, too. They're all really good. It's been fun watching them really progress. It's been a couple of years now, and they're all just really improving. Proud of these kids. Oh, I did do a calendar last year. That was hard.
What was the hard part? The hard part wasn't taking the pictures, was it?
No. Well, yes.
Yes.
It wasn't taking the pictures. It was deciding on which pictures to use. You know, there, again, is that a little bit of the imposter syndrome of, well, who wants to see this picture? Or, you know, what do people want to see? Like, there were different moods, right? So it was hard to figure out the photos to put in it. There were numerous obstacles. There was decision making of, okay, so I wanted to go high quality. All along, I wanted to go high quality. I didn't want the spiral calendar. I wanted to present something that felt professional. And maybe that was a little overcompensation, feeling like I wasn't a professional photographer, shopping around, finding good options, deciding on how many to sell, to purchase to sell. And at the end of the day, honestly, a lot of people are not using calendars anymore. Everything is on your phone. Personally, I like the visual aspect of a calendar, and that was one of the reasons that I did it. But yeah, there was a lot of lessons in there, for sure. If I were to do this again, I would definitely form a better plan. Social plan for marketing, you know, knowing what markets, farmers markets to go to or art fairs, what have you. I think I kind of went in it a little blindly, thinking it would just easily, hey, they'll probably want 10 or they'll probably want 20. I thought it was going to be easier.
I know what you're talking about. I wrote some children's books and I think they're really good.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, I think they're really good. But there you go. I thought, oh, this will sell a lot. No, it's the whole marketing thing. So you really got to think it through. Just so you know, I use a paper calendar.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
So, okay. I know a lot of people that do. I know a lot of people that don't also.
Yeah, there's a few things that are in my Outlook. But otherwise I use the paper calendar because I like to be able to look and see. It's so much easier on me.
I like the visual also, like it's big. I don't need it. I don't need my glasses. It's just easy to look at.
Oh, you're young. I need my glasses still for my calendar.
Yeah, I kind of need them all the time too. But thank you for that.
Hey, we were talking about this the other day. Do you ever pat yourself on the back? And how does that feel? It gets to the whole imposter syndrome thing again. But, hey, I did a good job there, and I'm going to pat myself on the back.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think when I made the image for the black and white show, I felt super proud of that. I do have some of those every now and then where I just say, look what I made. I did that. I captured that. So, yeah, I have pat myself on my back. Lincoln County has their photography festival. The first night we did night sky photography. And of course, there were a group of people out there and it was cloudy. Nobody could see the Milky Way. And I was so bummed. I was camping out at Kershaw Ryan Campground. I had my camper. I went to bed. I went to class all day Saturday. Saturday night, we had a big event. And I was so tired. It was a long day. It was amazing. It was an amazingly long day, but I was beat. And so I'm driving back to my campground from Caliente and pitch black, clear skies. And I was like, I'm going to try to get the Milky Way. And I pulled up to where we were the night before and I did it. And I was so overjoyed. Like, I was so excited. I had a hard time falling asleep. I was that excited.
That's good.
That I actually did. Yeah, so that was a good pat on the back moment right there.
Yeah, that's a great story. Lincoln County is a good spot for the Milky Way.
Yes, a lot of cool, neat spots there.
I know that you like road trips. What is your go-to snack on a road trip?
Well, it depends on what we're in. If we are in our camper, we have a refrigerator. And it's too easy. But if I'm in the car, like this weekend, we'll be driving up to Reno. If I'm in the car, my favorite snack is, trying to think. Well, we always stop at Subway for sandwiches, it seems. But if I had to choose the perfect snack, I like gum.
Yeah.
I know that's not food, but my son and I have gotten into these, I don't know what they're called. They're in these plastic containers, like these horribly artificially flavored bubble gum things. And we just chew the bubbles and make the noise. And it's like, that's the best way to get through that road trip.
What's inspired you recently?
Honestly, Steve, this has inspired me. I get sleepy with my hobby and I get caught up in the whole life thing. And, the winter is a hard time for photography for me because I do like to get outside, and because of the holidays are so busy. And, I kind of got a little sad through the holidays with some of the weather that came through, that I wasn't able to get out and take some pretty pictures of unusual weather, at least down here in Las Vegas. But this has been inspiring me. We talked about Joshua Tree, and I have so many photos and old computers that I haven't looked at in I don't know how long. That inspires me, just thinking about places I've been and, maybe getting back to that, kind of embracing it from that perspective again, campfire and all. But this has really inspired me to kind of step out of some lazy comfort zones a little bit, so to speak. So thank you.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. What an honor.
I do have an Instagram handle that I keep occasionally pretty up to date. And that is Teresa_W_photography.
Teresa, thank you very much. It was an honor talking to you.
It was so wonderful talking with you too, Steve. Have a great day.
You do the same. Bye.
Bye.
Hi everyone. Addie here, your Down Under research assistant, with a few loving notes to wrap up our time with the incredible Teresa, Las Vegas photographer, devoted mom, and creative force of nature. First, we want to send a thank you to Fred Bell for the use of his beautiful Coyote soundtrack. Fred's work adds such an authentic desert voice to our episodes, and you can explore more of his soundscapes at soundsandspaces.net. And a special nod to Neil Sedaka for that delightful snippet of Calendar Girl that gave us a little musical sparkle along the way. Teresa also marks our third wonderfully talented guest from Women in Focus Las Vegas. and we couldn't be more grateful for this connection. Women in Focus Las Vegas is a non-profit photography organization dedicated to supporting women through community, learning, and creative growth. They offer monthly meetings, guest speakers, tutorials, and inspiring group photo outings to places like Red Rock Canyon. They also host public exhibitions, sharing their members' work in libraries and galleries, creating space for photographers at every stage, from curious beginners to seasoned professionals. Their mission is simple and powerful: nurture confidence, artistry, and belonging through photography. You can find them online at womeninfocuslasvegas.com. From all of us at the Art Box, thank you for listening, for supporting creativity, and for being part of this community. If you haven't already, we invite you to click that follow button so you'll be the first to know when a new episode is released.
Broadcasting from the Mesquite Works Steam Center in the scenic Mojave Desert, the Art Box sponsors thank you for listening. You can find us on Spotify, Samsung, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, and Amazon Music. Please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We are on Facebook and Instagram as The Art Box. We welcome all comments. You can email us at artboxvv@gmail.com. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of its hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of our sponsors.